Voice acting for business and pleasure. I was saying I created this. I get a lot of questions about both, about, do you like it? Is it fun? What got you into it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I talk about many of these things in my voice panels. But the questions that come up, the big Q&A, are almost always about the business side of it. People want to know, how did you get into it? Is it difficult? How do you get going? How many people here have thought about voice acting, even on a casual level? Yeah, almost all the time, because we grew up watching anime. In my case, we used to call them cartoons. And because those old things are so primitive looking compared to what we watch now. But they were cartoons. And I used to think that I sounded just like Underdog. Man, I'd sit out there and I'd be watching TV and he'd say, "There's no need to fear, Underdog is here." And I would do that and think, oh God, I'd sound just like Wally Cox, And then in Underdog, there was actually Simon Bar Sinister, who was one of the really bad guys, I want you to vote for me, And so I would mess around with all these voices. I didn't think at the time in terms of being a voice actor. Back then when I was a kid, I had other plans. I didn't think about being in theater or whatever. What happens is that all right, let's see here. Is this okay? Would that be better? Yeah. So then, unless I do a Linda Blair. Oh, you should be able to hear me, okay, right, all the time. Excuse me. I haven't named him yet, but it's got to be Guibert or something like that. This is Bruges, established 1128. I didn't go there. My little sister brought me this T-shirt. She knows I'm a swordsman, and she knew I'd like this T-shirt, and she was right, So, oh, I was right. I was on cue. All right, that's good. So I had thought about it just casually in terms of doing the voices, because I always had a good time doing the voices, and I was always able to move around. And when I took Spanish in school, the teacher said, "Oh, your accent is excellent." And I studied accents, dialects, phonetics, did all these things, and created all these skills for myself as an actor. And going right into the business part of being the business and pleasure of acting, you need to have solid skills, and you need to study, study, study. Anybody done a drama in school? Okay, yeah, you've been on stage. You know something about when they expect you to be this way, talk this way, or do something. You need to be solid every time. I took that seriously. When I decided I was going to study dialects, I worked with the guy who was the chairman of the speech department with the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. He taught me phonetics. He was so impressed by me that he had me come and teach with him, okay? As a businessman, as business people and whatever we're doing, I say get all the training you can and be as legit as you can. It was very weird for me to be teaching at the American Academy and then later on at San Diego State, Cal State University, Los Angeles, and being a staff member at Los Angeles Broadcasting School, and I've never been to college. It's really weird. I kept thinking I'm going to get caught. One of these days, I'm going to get tapped on the shoulder. "Mr. St. Peter, come here. You don't have a credential, do you?" No, I don't have a degree, I don't have a credential, anything like that. But I learned my skills so well that people that have their doctorates ask me to come in to teach, to help them out. As a person, and this is when I touching upon the business side of it, I would say don't go that route. For me, it was accidental. I didn't mean to teach. I hated school. I didn't go to college because I hated school. My teachers all complained, "You're smart and you got all these talent and all this stuff." And I said, "Yeah, and I hate English, and you made me read Charles Dickens. Of course of course I'm pissed off, But you need to really be solid in your background. So whatever you are doing, whatever you go for in your business, in your life, and whatever you're going to do in terms of being an adult who pays the bills, be solid in what you're doing. Now, those of you who are still thinking about it like you do, maybe you'd like to learn more about being a voice actor. First of all, I say be an actor. You have to be an actor first. When I talked about the skills I learned between stage movement, costume movement, weapons, all the different things I learned, this was to become a solid craftsman, okay? No, I don't go up and choreograph fights, but if you need me to wield a sword, I'm ready. I know what I'm doing. I know how to do this stuff. I'm at least good enough for that sort of thing. Be solid in what you do. If you are going to be an actor, you need to do the workshops, do the classes, learn the skills. Then, maybe you can do voiceover. It's a very, very specific set of skills. It's very, very hard to have the skills and use them effectively. I know actors that are very good with some stuff, but they get in front of a microphone and they can't do it. It is not automatic. So I tell people, become an actor first. You might be able to do voiceover. My union has about 160,000 members in it. Okay, because of the merger, instead of the Screen Actors Guild, we have Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Actors, called SAG-AFTRA, which means now members of my union are the people that do the weather on TV. Okay, here's somebody that's doing the romance report. Do you know what Kim Kardashian did today? Okay, she's in my union now. You know. That one reason I was against the merger. Okay, I wanted to kind of, you know, but the merger went through. But we have 160,000 members. The number of people that do what I do effectively is in the low hundreds. It's a very, very difficult kind of work, and it's hard to get into, hard to stay. All right. Now, I don't want to get too heavy into just the business side of it, although you have to think about that. There is what I call voice acting for business and pleasure. I will tell you the best relationships I have professionally are the personal ones. I like what I do. I love what I do. I have a great time doing it. I'm not supposed to say this, but I did Kingdom Hearts about 2 months ago. And last Friday I went to a preview of the game, which isn't done yet. But it's on the screen. I have a non-disclosure agreement. You're not supposed to know about this. So everybody, right hand up. Pinky swear, you will not say anything to anybody. Okay. Perfect, yeah, right. Yeah, and I hope that's not, those are stills and not video. Or if it's video, there's no sound. I'm kidding. Okay. So, the best part of what I do really has to do with the people that I know, the people that I've gotten to be friends with. I will go to a con and there will be 5, 6, 10 of us up here doing our panel stuff, answering questions, talking to people. Those have gotten to be like family members to me. Their kids call me Uncle Paul. It's a really wonderful, wonderful part of my life is having these fantastic people in my life. It is the best part of it. The work is great, the work is fun. Sometimes it plays very well. Sometimes it pays you know. But I get to go up in front of a microphone, speak like all sorts of different characters. This, by the way, is my real voice. Most of you have never heard it before. I never get to use it. Almost never. They always call me because of my versatility. Oh, he's the versatile guy. Bring him in for the monster. He's the versatile guy. He does the accents and the dialects. We need a Frenchman. Bring him in, okay? Need to have a German. Resident Evil 5 fans here? Yeah, look in the credits. Roll down the credits. You'll find my name in there, okay? I did the voice of a zombie, and I spoke Swahili. Swahili is close to Zulu, and I do speak some Zulu because I'm a historian. I love this, you know, I'm sorry, I'm an historian. You know? But as an historian, I like to take notes and write things out. I just study everything. And among these things I've studied is South African history and the Zulu Wars. And I've read these books that come from the period and also books that are done in more present day. And there are a bunch of phrases and words in Zulu. And so I write them down because that's interesting to me. So I will write these things down and I know how the pronunciation and the lilt go like that. And then out of the blue, somebody calls me and said they need something. Bring any kind of language you have from Africa. So I was voicing a movie of the week for Disney called Tarzan in Manhattan. It was as good as the title, I promise you. Okay. I mean, Tarzan on top of a bus. It's like, stop it, you know. But I went in, and there was a part that took place in Africa before he came to Manhattan, and they said, yeah, just use some phrases. So I taught people a bunch of phrases in Zulu. And so when I went in, they called me for Resident Evil 5. They said, okay, you're going to be a zombie, and these are the words you have to say. Do they look okay to you? And they said they're Swahili, and actually Swahili and Zulu are both Bantu dialects. I'm also a linguist, by the way. Part of my study. Nobody has said, as an actor, become a linguist. It just happens to help, and it interests me. So I said, oh, God, this is very, very close. So I got up there, and I was just rattling off all these things. Later on, they said, you were the only white guy we brought in to do this stuff. And I had forgotten about it until 2 of my RPG friends show up once. where we played like a Wednesday night at 7:30, cracking open beers and have pizza, and we played about half of it and partied the rest of the other half. But two of my friends come tromping in, they're going like, dude, we're in Resident Evil 5? I'm like, yeah, where'd that question come from? We were looking at the credits, is that Paul? It's Paul. Okay. When you are going about your life and you are studying the things you do, they all do come into place, okay? I know it's not easy to say keep going to school and keep studying things, but it really is important. Everything you have in your background will serve you. And particularly for me as an actor, I found that to be more true than I ever thought it would be. I didn't think that studying all the things I do would come in handy. I went in to do a game was called Mars. And they said, you're going to be playing the part of Uyghur, okay? Spelled U-I-G-E-H-E-R. And I said, well, that's the name of a steppe tribe that rode out of East Asia and like tromped on people like the Mongols did. They were along those lines, the Uyghurs, okay? So when I was in the session, I mentioned that, and the guy who had created the series says, yeah, as a matter of fact, that's why his armor looks like it does, because I specifically saw Uyghur. I went like, dude, that's so cool, you know. I mentioned just the study part like that. Make sure that you keep going on with what you're doing. Get better and better. Again, if any of you decide you're going to act on stage, any of you decide you want to do theater, decide you want to come to the big city, and that is when people ask me for their advice, I say, do as much theater as you can, do as much improv as you can. But sooner or later, you're going to have to come to LA or New York, maybe Chicago, anime-wise, really solid down in Dallas, okay? Not so much the on-camera stuff, but there are places you will have to go eventually. Those of you who are just interested, that sort of thing, don't worry about that. But whatever you are doing in your business, whatever it is, keep studying, keep learning. Now, as far as when I talk about the pleasure of doing this, I get to do things like create a character voice and maintain it. Digimon fans here? Yeah? Show of hands? Don't just nod your head. Put your hands up there. Thank you. I require that. I can't. Okay. When I auditioned for Wormmon, they brought me in. I didn't know anything about it. These days, and just to tell you how it's changed a lot, back then you would go into the studio and they would give you the copy. And it would have the lines of dialogue that they want you to read, and sometimes the picture, not always. Okay. Now they email that to us, and 95% of the time I just do it at home. I'll record my audition at home, send it off to whoever's supposed to get it, and then cross my fingers, you know. But I went in there, I took one look at Wormmon, and I took one look at the lines, and I knew what to do. I knew which voice to choose. It's a question then of whether they like it or not, okay? That's out of your control, all right? But I went in there, I looked at the picture, and I saw those sad eyes. I looked at the dialogue, and I knew right away that Wormmon had to sound like this, and he had to have a face like this all the time. So as I was working in the studio, the engineers always go, I love to watch you work, because I'm standing there going, Ken, you can still be a good boy, you know. That's part of the pleasure of acting, okay? I can create that voice, maintain it, and act with it, all right? So what I get to do is just have that kind of fun and be around these wonderful people, and again, sometimes get paid very well, other times, you know. That really makes it a lot of fun. The problem is everybody sees the fun, okay? They wonder why sometimes we get paid so well. You know why I'm getting paid well? For all those other times I didn't get paid well. For all that study and hard work and the money you spend. It's expensive to be an actor. Those of you who think about going to Hollywood or whatever, it is not cheap. First of all, it's not cheap to live there, but also you've got to pay for workshops. Not so much pictures now, but you have to go to a photographer and get good pictures done, and you have to send those off to people. Carry them with you in your briefcase or whatever, you know. All this stuff goes into it. So it is hard. When you complain about people, oh, you got $10 million for a movie or something like that, you know, not me yet, you know, but cross my fingers, cross my toes, cross my legs, whatever, you know, cross my eyelashes, whatever it takes, you know. But we have put in years and years, decades and decades of study and hard work to try to make these things happen. So when we do get paid well, I don't feel like I'm stealing the money, but it does feel pretty easy. But I just think back to when it was ramen noodles and eggs, and I had, an 80% non-meat diet. I wasn't a vegetarian. I just couldn't afford steak, Those are the hard times, all right? And you have to go through those things. If you're going to be in this kind of business, the first thing you have to do is decide if you're going to make it long term. Or for me, I'm a lifer. I said I'm in it for the long haul. I have to smile a little bit when I hear actors say, well, I'm going to go to Hollywood and I'm going to spend like 5 years. And if I don't get where I want to be, I'm going to go and do something else. Have a nice trip. I will not see you after 5 years. Because even if you do very well in 5 years, then something falls apart. Suddenly you're not getting work anymore. I knew a girl that had soap operas and stuff like that. The next thing I heard, I was married at the time, but I'm all better now. But did I say that? Oh my God. Was this thing on? Oh my ex-wife knew the woman very well, and she said, oh, I just saw her. She's working in a dress shop now. TV series, working in a dress shop. All right. It can fall apart that quick. If you are an actor, you're an actor from the beginning. When I taught at the American Academy, they were very big on craft. You learned how to make a mask as an actor. I mean, you don't think of doing that, but if you're going to be a legit stage actor, you learn that craft. You make costumes. What you guys do when you make a cosplay is, I'm awestruck by that. I have no talent for it at all. I sit down at a con, or I'm like in a panel like this, and I see somebody over here going, when I'm done, they walk up, here, I made a picture of you. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't draw flies, You got the joke, thank you. You smell bad, you draw flies. That's what, so I can't, I'm so bad with it, I can't draw. Okay. Anyway, that was a really funny one. So, thank you. When you have this level of commitment, then you go and you put yourself through this stuff, okay? Am I the best at what I do? No. Am I pretty good? Yeah. Do I go into auditions and beat very, very good people and get cast? Yes, I do. Do I go into auditions against very, very good people and not get cast? That happens too, all right? It's all part of the deal. And you have to make sure that you do not take it personally. How many people feel rejected when you go in to try and do something and it doesn't work? Do you feel rejection? Yeah. Every hand should go up at some point, yeah. Especially as young actors, we go in and it's like, oh my God, they hate me. What I like to tell everybody is the people for whom you're auditioning don't know you well enough to hate you. They don't know you well enough to hurt you. They have nothing at all against you. It's impersonal in the best way, okay? You're going in there and you're going to show them something that you hope they will like enough to hire you, all right? But they're not sitting out there going, look at those shoes. I'll never hire that person, I hate the way they tie their shoes, all of it, So, I'll bet he voted for this, It's nothing like that. What you do is you go in and do the audition and you leave. Now, this is advice for any business that you're in. When something is in your hands, my audition, my job, okay? So I'm doing a job or I'm doing an audition. When it's in my hands, I have the copy to work with, or I have my part here and the director to work with when I'm doing the job, all right? It's in my hands. It's in my control. I'm the guy. I'm the boss, all right? When the job's over, I do this. I walk out of the studio, or I leave the office where I did the audition. I walk away. It's no longer in my hands. The thing that will drive you out of your mind, no matter what business you're in, is trying to manipulate things that are no longer in your reach. It's gone. It's not there anymore. The best advice I ever got as an actor came from an agent. He said, you have to remember that you can only deal with what's in your hands right now. Deal with the stuff that's in your hands, okay? Don't try to keep controlling something that's not there anymore, all right? And somebody said, why did you give up acting? And he said, I couldn't take my own advice. He said, I used to go home after an audition and just sit there, wait by the phone. And then all this crap starts welling up in you, all this hatred and bitterness. What do they have against me? What do I have to do to get a job in this town? That kind of thing. No, you have to learn to walk away. I've gotten pretty good at it to where I will get called and told that I have a job that I forgot I even auditioned for. And now that doesn't happen in 2 or 3 days. Usually the timetable is you're going to know within about a week, most of the time. because they have deadlines and they have to get going. Usually they cast you and wonder why you can't have the part done already. You know, they're that unreasonable. They take forever. They take forever to get a script. They take forever to line up the time, and then suddenly it's everybody else's fault that it's not done yet, okay, including you. Now they're in a rush. Why can't we get it done this fast, this fast, this fast? I said, well, I just got called yesterday. Don't blame me, you know. But normally what you do is you have a certain amount of time where you know you're going to get a call, and if you don't, then you don't have the job, okay? My ex-girlfriend from a couple of years back said, well, you know, when they call you and tell you, then you'll know. I said, no, if I don't get cast, they don't call me. Imagine if you audition 60 people and you hire one. Are you going to make 59 phone calls telling people they didn't get the job? No, that isn't how it works. So it's very impersonal in that sense where it could feel downright cold. You audition and you never hear anything. That's the way the business goes. But it's not malicious. They are not against you. They don't have a problem with you. You simply didn't bring what they wanted. You go on to the next thing. I get hired for jobs I didn't think I was right for, but they knew better because they know what they're doing. They saw something in what I did. Would somebody grab the door, please? Yeah, 'cause people always stop and have a conversation right by the door when I'm doing my panels. At least he's quiet. I did one, I think it was here. Some guy stopped and he was having this incredibly animated conversation at the top of his lungs, and I finally was just looking over like, dude, my panel or yours, you know? Come on in and share, you know, so. Now, I mentioned the business aspect of it, and again, any business. I like to make sure that my advice can be taken by people in any business you are in. Do not be so caught up in this. Or as somebody once told me in a seminar series, don't get so attached to the result, all right? The result will be what it is. Never say you never got results. Well, I went up for that part, I didn't get any results. Yes, you did. The result is you didn't get cast, okay? That's a result. And don't judge it. It didn't work. Steve Bloom once mentioned that. He says, yeah, about 30 times audition, you get one. Okay? That's about right. Sometimes it's more than that. My average is a little bit better, but also I'm in what you might call a niche market, or niche, or whatever it is. There aren't that many people that can do what I do, so they call me, and sometimes I'm in that wonderful position where they simply call me for the role. I don't even audition. That's a nice feeling. The best thing is, especially when they call me in, because not many people do what I do, when I got called in to do the Digimon movie, they said, we have this big monster, okay? We need you to do him. We need you to do that voice. And that's my reputation. I'm that guy with that voice. So when I go in, and they said, the client asked for you, they want you to do that voice. So I walk in and I'll say, go back. That seems like a simple thing until you actually try it. A lot of people I know say, oh, that's easy. And then they fry their voices within 5 minutes because they think it's like those guys in the heavy metal videos. You know, and then you start going, ow. So there's a way to do the stuff I do, and I tell everyone, don't try it, don't even practice it until you get some coaching. All right. In VoiceMaker, I talk more about that, but quite simply, I just keep a lot of air under that voice. So I sound like Satan, you know, but it's just me. I'm St. Peter, you know, so I can get away with it. All right. When it comes to the simple fun element of it, one of the reasons you guys get to meet us, and we have a lot of fun talking about this, it is a lot of fun. We do have a good time. If we don't, you guys notice it. When you listen to a new voice, you guys have heard any time in a series where somebody got replaced, okay, for whatever reason, and you notice it right away? Yeah. A lot of people in Hollywood aren't as smart as we actors are because we actors know that you guys notice the difference. It's the idiot in an office somewhere that says, oh, just put anything out there, they'll buy it, they'll eat it up. No, you won't. If you guys saw, you know, Final Fantasy blah, 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 whichever version it was, and you heard bad things about it, you would not buy it. You might try it at somebody else's house, but you won't get it, and these guys take forever to learn that. We as actors say, look, you want to replace somebody? Okay, fine. You want to try to voice match them, but don't just think you can throw them out. It does not work that way. You can't just say, yeah, you know, we'll get somebody that sounds kind of like him, because it is an acting thing that we do. As a performer, I need to bring, like I talk in stage actor to voice actor, one of my panels. When I'm on stage and I get to wear a cape and I have a sword and Petruchio's over here and I walk up to him and stand and you can see where my feet are. This is called a three-quarter pose, okay? So you can see me, you can hear me, and I look like I'm looking at him. This is actually a stage thing that you have to learn. If you don't, if you're doing like this, or heaven forbid, yeah. So I'm looking at him and we're interacting and that sort of thing, and yet I'm still kind of facing you. You get to look at me, right? I get to do all these wonderful tricks that I studied over the years, and I get to walk up to Petruchio and put my hand on his shoulder, and I get to walk away, and there's Kate, and then I played Gremio in Taming of the Shrew, and got to be, the old man walking around like this and money grubbing, stuff like that, and gray hair and weird beard. Got to do all this crazy stuff. These are all wonderful things you get to utilize as an actor. You get to use your body. When I talk about this in stage actor to voice actor, you take all that and you put it in a stage that big. That's it. You got nothing else. It's right here. So when people say, well, voice acting isn't real acting, oh, baby, it's harder. It's a lot harder. You do not get to walk up there and say, well, I feel that my character right here would draw his dagger. Well, it better be on the screen with the animation, because I don't get to go, it's not like that. I stand, I find my spot where I was before, because the engineer set the sound right there, and I'm on that spot right there. Sometimes it's a shotgun mic, and the space might even be smaller. They get you right here. This is where you are. When I do Kingdom Hearts, they actually have a camera on me, and they animate the face, the lower face, with the footage they use. They started doing that about 10 years ago. And so they have it here. So those movements, the facial movements and the mouth movements and things like that, are actually what they adapted from mine, okay, that go on those characters. Didn't used to be like that. In the older versions of the games you guys are playing, that's why you saw these characters doing this. I used to watch that. I was going, just let me do the voice. I don't want to see this. It's gotten much, much better, okay? So in the Kingdom Hearts 3 that's coming out, I did get to do my dialogue scenes, and it is very pretty, and I've also played some of the action. It's also very, very good looking. So in terms of the look, it's going to be a wonderful game. I can't answer for the writing and all that because I had my scene, and I was only there 40 minutes, and I was the first one to record. The other characters hadn't recorded yet. So here I was interacting, and I call it acting with phantoms. When you don't get to interact with someone else, you don't get to be with Petruchio, with Kate, with Biondello, another part I played in the play. You don't get to actually do this stuff. You're by yourself. That is one of the hardest things you can do, and it's difficult. Watch your phone, son. Down here. God, I feel old when I say son. And I never do that. I never say, okay. Okay. All right. The thing you have to keep in mind when you're out there as a performer, sometimes you are very, very on your own, and they expect you to be that kind of actor. You can act with phantoms. It's very difficult. That's where the concentration and the craft come in. You can't say, all right, I'm supposed to be a German in this scene. I'm going to be talking like this to, to this other character and stuff like that. When you are the only one and the other person hasn't recorded yet, and there you are as a character looking like this, interacting with that person, and they don't have any lines. They're not saying anything to you. But you need to have your conversation as though that person's really there. It has to be that convincing. The way I looked at you right there is kind of how it works, on stage especially. Although nobody really does that in real life, By the way, if you want to learn more about acting, just watch people in real life. In high school acting classes, they say, okay, keep your eye contact. That's how you concentrate. Watch real life people. We talk all the time without looking at each other. You go in the kitchen, you're doing this, and you go there and you're putting that down and you're talking. There's a conversation going on. You never see the other person's eyes. You could be standing there like this, and they don't know. It's just a conversation tool you have. So you don't need to keep looking and looking. But that kind of concentration of, I'm here with this person right now, is what really works for you. What I like to do is, give you guys an opportunity to ask me a few questions. We'll do what I call Q&A now. I have other stories to tell. I have a million stories to tell about all the stuff we've run into. Oh yeah, one thing I do want to touch upon that I don't do every time, but there are all sorts of businesses where you have representation to take care of you, okay? Not just actors, you know, writers do this, where you might have a publicist, a representative, an agent. Be very careful of the people out there who want to take your money from you. They're everywhere, tons of them. Bad photographers, bad representatives, lawyers, people like that. If you encounter anyone who wants to represent you and says they will charge you for it, take the first bus out of there. It's illegal. They cannot charge you to represent you. They get 10%, but that's when they book a job, okay? So that's part of what they get. But my saying that I'm going to represent you, or you're going to be in my, my stable of guys who are, of Western types, okay? And I'll send you up for commercials and movies, okay? I'm going to charge you $100 a month to do that. Can't do that, okay? That is a part of the business where you have to be very, very careful. The rip-off artists are out there. Somebody wants to take your pictures? Of course. Professional photographer is going to charge you, all right? But they're doing that, and they're charging you for getting the picture, for getting that. Do not tell them that now that they've done your picture, they get a percentage of everything you get, okay? It's not in your contract. And most times you don't have a contract with a photographer. They take your pictures, you're done, you pay them. You pick out the ones you like and say, yay, there you are, okay? You need to be very careful of people like that. The world is full of thieves, okay? All you had to do was pay attention the past 6 months or so about the whole, what's his name, Weinstein? Yeah. All you have to do is see what kind of snakes there are out there. Just look at him, okay? The business is full of them. They want to rip you off. They want to hire me and pay me peanuts to do a professional job for them, and then they want to take a long time to pay me. They want to take forever. Didn't have a union contract, so, you know, good luck. Eventually they send you their money. But the attitude is that we as performers, we as people that give them what they want, are not worth anything. And they will say, well, if you don't do it, I'll get somebody else. Well, that's how much it pays. I can get somebody else to do it. I'm at a nice point in my career, and I said, you go right ahead, and good luck with that, you know. World of Warcraft, guys? You guys play? Yeah. I was doing that some years ago when the people at Blizzard, who are based in New York, said, you know, why do we need to do this in California? Why do we need to do this in LA? We're in New York, let's just, you know. So they pulled up stakes and moved everything to New York. And about 5 months later, they came right back again. Why? No, you can't just get anybody walking down a hallway to do this stuff effectively. No, you cannot just have an open call and figure any actor can do this. There are lots and lots of actors in New York, but just like in LA, there are lots and lots of actors. Damn few of us can do the voiceover part. They came back because they could not get what they needed from that pool of talent. Where we are in LA, we're still the best. We still have the biggest concentration of people that can do that. They bring me in because, again, you do that voice, you do this monster voice. One of the great compliments I ever got, I was working on a session and I was playing like a demon elf or something. I forget what the character was. I didn't know there could be bad elves, you know. So, Blizzard has elf experts, dwarf experts, troll experts. They actually are, that's part of what they do in their office. So when you want to talk about a troll, you want to talk about some kind of wraith, you know, they have wraith experts, you know. You call them, would that be allowable? Could we say the line like that? Actually, no, that a wraith would never do that or whatever. So I come in and Andrea was the director, and she was with Blizzard. I came in and they said, okay, we need to do one of those voices. This is like a demon elf. So I got up, I walked up and I said, okay, well, let's try one. And I did the voice, and it was something really makes your skin creep, you know, that kind of thing. Crawling skin. I'm the creep. No, it's your skin that crawls. Okay, right. to keep these things straight, you know. And she and the engineer both sat there for a moment going, oh, okay. Because I made them very uncomfortable with that voice, right? And then they said, okay, let's do this. So they get David in New York, the elf expert. Still weird to say that. They got the elf expert on the phone, and they had the party thing going so that 5 people can hear and all that stuff. And they said, okay, David, yeah, we've come up with a voice. Let's give it a try. Have a listen, see what you think. He goes, okay. And so I did the first cue, whatever it was, and there was a long pause. And Andrea said, David? He goes, I'm sorry, I was distracted by the awesome. Isn't that great? What a great thing. I was distracted by I went like, yeah, you know. Okay, but enough about me. What do you think of me? All right. Yeah, I want to give you guys a chance to talk and just whatever you might want to know about the business. And it doesn't have to be, you know, business pleasure and what that panel is about. It could be just any question about the business and about me, etc. You know, so feel free. Yes, first hand up.
You were talking about waiting for callbacks, and that sometimes it can be a while. Is it ever appropriate to contact them and say, I'm just wondering about the part that I auditioned for?
If you want to commit suicide in your career, yes. It's very appropriate, yeah. I can't tell you how much they hate that. Yeah, those old stories, they come from the New York stage era, okay, the old era, when people used to do things like, oh, that casting director, well, I have to remind him that I auditioned, so that they go in and they're wearing a funny outfit, or they bang on the door with something and doing all this stuff to try to get attention. They got your audition, okay? You've done your part, walk away. Most of the time you find out quickly. And it might not be in a case where they are, in fact, going to work quickly, but they want to nail everything down, okay? Do you have the cast members set? Are we done with that? Okay, great. We're still scrambling to get the location. We're still trying to line up this. Unfortunately, sometimes they're still trying to line up the damn money. You know, they audition you first and they don't have anything to pay you yet, you know. But if you're under a union contract, you're fine. One of the nice things is that when you work on a union project, they use a payroll service, and payroll services issue a bond, okay? So a bond simply means that they guarantee the money. Whoever hired them pays an extra fee for that bond, all right? So I will get my money working on that job, even if the company folds, all right? They then have their company that does what's called a surety bond. They then go after the producer for the money that they laid out, okay? If you work for a bank, okay, to get bonded, you have to be honest and be good with the numbers and all that stuff, and they do vet you and check you out. Well, if you then turn around and steal $10,000, well, the bank doesn't lose that money. The surety bond company comes in with the $10,000 and says, okay, we said this guy was okay, here, we're going to back you up, here's your $10,000 back. Then the bond company turns to you, the thief, and says, all right, because they're out $10,000 and now they come after you. When you get out of jail, you have another responsibility suddenly, $10,000 plus interest, you know. So when you're doing the union thing like that, they do have that. But you want to be very careful about trying to contact them anyway, under any circumstances. The only time I do a follow-up is if I send material, okay? That's important, if it's by email or by mail or if you hand it to somebody. Follow up and say, did everything come through okay? That is an okay time. But beyond the audition, I trust you. If they remember you and they like you, they're going to contact you. If they don't, they're going to say, who the hell is this person calling me? You know, it's a great way to commit suicide, because that's one casting company that will never call you again. I've had people that I didn't think were that impressed by me. Now, I did the audition, I didn't get a call back, I didn't get cast, and yada, 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 right? And then they asked for me for another time. They heard something in my first audition that impressed them. I didn't get cast on that job. But that's why I say don't take it personally. You do have something good to offer, every one of you. I cannot go to an audition and act like you can. I cannot go in and be you. Only you can do that. That's why you always go in and be yourself. Nobody else can do it. No matter how hard I try. I cannot go in an audition and try to act by the way what you gave them. I cannot do that. That's why I always bring what you have. My stuff, what I do, is all based on who I am. Okay, it's Paul St. Peter as the French baguette maker or something like that. or the Basque sheep herder. Okay, that's Paul St. Peter. I don't go in and try to be, maybe I could be like Crispin Freeman. I could be like Crispin Freeman doing a Basque accent, No, I have to go in and be me doing that, okay? That's what they're looking for. They aren't looking for you to come in and be somebody else. They want you to be you. So relax, go in and be you. That's what they want. I promise you as a performer, you as a professional, you as a business person of any kind have something to offer that no one else can. I promise you do. I guarantee it. Because nobody else can do what you do. What I bring to a session, which is a lot, I bring based on my own skill set and my own studies. And I'm not bragging about that. These are things that people tell me. I did one, I was looping a film, and I can't remember which one it was, but the engineer had worked on a project that I had done years before that. He said, I remember you. You bring a lot to a session, okay? That makes an impression. Be yourself and work hard. Do that stuff. Yes, you had a question.
When you go in for auditions, do they like when you bring in like headshots with your resume? And if they do they usually want those colored or in black and white? Because I've heard very conflicting things.
They don't accept black and white 8x10s anymore. Okay. There was a time when that was the way it went because there was a logical reason for it. First of all, way back when things were in black and white, if you brought in a color picture, well, how's he going to look on a black and white screen? Okay. And they lit things differently back then. They knew they didn't have the colors. They lit the films knowing that they were going to be in black and white. It's why nowadays when people try to do black and white films, no matter how they do it, they can't make it look like it used to. The technology has gone past black and white. It now looks for more depth and more texture and color. So it's hard to do that. You see people that do it pretty well, and it's an effective tool to say, well, I remember I met him, I was only 84, and we were both young and drinking all the time, and then they cut to the flashback, and it's in black and white, and they're sitting in a bar in Tijuana or something like that, knocking shots back or whatever. They will do that as a tool, but trying to shoot a black and white film right now is very difficult. Again, the technology has gone toward color, and it's hard to go backwards, really hard to do it effectively. If you're going to bring a picture in, make sure it's a color picture, unless they tell you specifically. They probably won't. If they say, look, bring in the actors, I like their look, and you would be in a certain classification, maybe 23 to 30 or something like that, a certain height and a certain look, et cetera, they'd say, bring in, 15 people like that. And then if they're interested in you, they say, all right, we want to see what you look like in black and white. They bring a photographer, and they do that. They're not going to make you do another shot. I don't recommend getting a separate shot done in black and white either.
Just wait for them to do it themselves.
If they need to. Otherwise, if they want a picture of you, it's going to be in color. Resume, keep it simple. Put your best stuff on there. What I do for the most part is now about 90% of my auditions I do at home. And when I need to send them a picture, I click on the picture and put it in the email. Same with all of my teaching stuff, all of my panel stuff, all of my everything. It's what I call my packet, but I send it by email now. But the legit things, and they use legit in a bad way. When they say that I used to do legit theater. Okay, I sang 4 years with the San Diego Opera Company. I was at the Old Globe Theater, one of the great regional theaters in the country, etc. That's legit. But if you go and do something else, it's not there, it's not legit theater. It's all legit. You're up performing. Always legit. Every time. You brought your talent, that's legit. Never mind how somebody else defines that. In the old days of legit theater, you always brought in your picture and resume, okay? And now if you go in for an audition and that's what they want, they'll say pick and resume every time. I just keep it in my briefcase. So even though I rarely go in to do something, most of the time when I would do on-camera stuff, it's still an email submission. And so you bring it with you, but 90% of the time you've gone in, you've either gotten the audition, and they're looking at the screen. They just opens up his laptop and sees your picture. You don't need to hand them anything else. But I keep it handy just because. But if it ever came down to a black and white sort of thing, that's extremely specific. They would probably do that. If they told you they wanted that, then you need to bring one in, then take care of it. But those are specific instructions. And you can probably do that at home anyway. I've got a tripod in my camera, and I can hit the 10-second button and go there. and have my picture taken, yes, anyone? I know you're dying to ask me questions, because I love her so much. A little bit more in terms of doing the business part, networking, okay? How important is networking? Extremely important. It's actually vital, okay? I never thought about what I do really as networking over the years since I first started doing this in 19, because it's all just been part of what I do. It's just that thing. It's sort of like, you think about networking with your shoelaces, You got to use them every day that you wear shoes, all right? So your relationship with your shoelaces are pretty good, but you don't think about it. I never thought about the networking element of what I do until I started looking back over the years at the people that I still know and who still cast me after all those years. I realized I've been maintaining good relationships and good networks with those people all this time. Going back to Robotech, my first story, my first series. And I still have these people I knew way back then, and they call me for things. And they want to bring me in and have me work on stuff like that. That is actually a network that I've maintained. How do you maintain a network? It's okay. What's that?
Talking to people?
Absolutely. By the way, there are 10,000 right answers. So,
Making a good impression.
very good. Yes, leaving a good impression. Anything else? What's that? Lining their pockets, yes. One great way to maintain a good relationship with somebody is your work makes money for them. Oh, my God, they love to bring you back. They really do. It's one of my favorite elements of that. When you do a good job for somebody, of course they want to call you back. It's no guarantee. That doesn't mean you did a good job for someone and they'll bring you back. I would do a good job for somebody as that guy that does the dialects and the accents. Their next project doesn't have dialects and accents in it, so they don't think about me. Part of the problem with my voice is that it's extremely distinct. You don't think about it until you watch a film, and I'm one of the guys in the background doing the little sounds. If you guys go out right now and look at people hanging out in the rooms and gaming and stuff like that, that all has to be voiced. So if I brought the four of you and you and you would be my Walla group, okay? In the old days of film, when they first began and they first got sound, they didn't think about all the things they were getting themselves into. So you would have the two main characters talking like this and the other person like this, and there are 15 people in the background. And when they first started shooting, they would watch the scene and say, my God, nobody's talking. So they had to create something in the background. What did they do? Walla, 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 walla. That's all they did. Walla, 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 walla. We make jokes about it and say, rutabaga, rhubarb, peas and carrots, As things got better with sound, you started hearing people in the background going, walla, walla, walla. They had to come up with better stuff. So we 6, 7 would be in the studio, and there would be a couple talking right by a desk. I'd have you two get up, okay? It's a 43-second cue. Just ad-lib back and forth. Make sure to cover these two people talking there, all right? So that kind of stuff has to be taken care of. So you would say, okay, I'm gonna pick up 2 steaks, and did you get the wine? You'd say, yeah, I got the wine already. And you would go ahead and hold a conversation like that. That was to pick all that stuff up, okay? You had to start doing that. When I talk about how they got themselves into trouble when they created sound, because suddenly all these things that they took for granted in silent film had to be accounted for, the better and better they got, And again, as a Walla group, we would bring in X number of people. Usually it's 5 men, 3, 4 women, that sort of thing. And you get up and you cover all this stuff. How did I get on that? Help me out here.
You just kind of started on it.
I'm sorry?
You just kind of started on it.
Oh, okay, well.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there was something about it, but it does have to do with when I talk about having the skills. Improv, very important. You need to be able to just come up with stuff that quickly. And so when I say, you're talking about dinner, you're going to get the steaks, yes, you picked up the wine, then the conversation seems to go on, doesn't it? Okay, because we're watching up there. So you have to come back with a reply and say something to him. And it all has to match and sound right. These are difficult things that we, just as background voices, are doing. Okay, I brought it up because of the distinctive sound of my voice. Because even to this day, when I watch films on TV and I know I'm in this movie, and I listen, and my voice sticks out like a sore thumb. So sometimes I would not get calls for that reason. We can't have you in the Walla group, I'm sorry. You sound like Paul St. Peter. See, I used to train broadcasters. I taught at Los Angeles Broadcasting School for 2 years. And people asked me if I was on air. I said, no, I'm a speech teacher. That's why I'm here. But I sound like a broadcaster. Hey, everybody. Those jazz hits just keep on coming. Give us a call. Hey, you know. Absolutely. Your voice is your business card. It's your advertising. When I got hired by Disney to coach 2 actors on a movie of the week, I got a message on my answering machine. This is way, way back. On my answering machine, there was a message, and it was a secretary for somebody at Disney. I looked at your ad in the drama log, which isn't even around anymore, you know, for coaching accents and dialects. We want to have you, we want to maybe talk to you about coming in and coaching. So I returned the message. I called back. I said, I'm Paul St. Peter. I got a message. And the secretary said, oh, I can tell you're a teacher already just by your voice. You know, you want that to be the case. One of my best coaches, my best speech coaches, was an Englishman who had taught at Cape Town University and London. He taught all over the world, taught these wonderful techniques that I learned for Shakespeare and general poetry and things like that. He said they should know you are an actor by your speech. They should hear you speaking and know. That's where, again, the practice, study, that sort of thing. So I go in there, and I'm the only one that says produce. Not produce, but produce. I teach students on Tuesday, and they pay dues. Not students on Tuesday, and they pay dues to me. Okay? My speech is distinctive. It gets me calls. It gets me work. As a teacher, and I'm not in love with teaching, I never have been, but you know, it pays. It's gotten me places. I've done some wonderful things, but I never meant to be a teacher. I think about my 9th grade English teacher, Mrs. Nyman. If she could see me in front of a class, she probably would have had a heart attack. Because I was like an awful student. I got a perfect paper in her class one time. It was a perfect paper, but she was angry as hell because I had this bad scribbling habit. So everything I wrote was amazing. It was a review of the story and all this other stuff. I wrote all these incredible things, but it was the penmanship and the fact that I used pencil when I was supposed to use pen. It's a perfect paper, and it looks terrible. I go, thank you. But it always struck me. Here I was teaching on universities. I mean, I'm coaching people that are going to be going to Yale, okay? And I've never been to college. I turn around and go like, am I going to get arrested? Am I doing something wrong? So I told one guy when I talked about it, he was an actor I knew way back when, who was also an instructor. And I was telling him about my misgivings. I said, my God, you know, Edward G. Robinson studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Most of you are too young to know, but Edward G. Robinson, one of the greatest American actors ever, okay, studied at the American Academy. And here I am teaching. And I'm going, God, I feel so out of place. But my friend said, look, Paul, I have been to college. He said, let me explain. A BS is just that. An MS is more of the same. And a PhD means it was piled higher and deeper. And these are actually old stories and old jokes about that stuff, but it's true. He would say it just means it's piled higher and deeper. He says, look, you know how to do things they don't. Because when I taught at Cal State LA, I was brought in by a guy who has his doctorate in drama and theater. PhD, doctorate. He doesn't know how to do what I do, so he brought me in. You know, that's why I went in there. I knew how to do something they didn't do. He said, if you know, so don't sweat it. And I made up a little title for myself just to handle it. If anybody ever asks, I'm a guest instructor. If they want to mess with me beyond that point, go ahead. But if they wanted to give me a hard time and tell me that they know more than I do because they went to college and I didn't, I would say, all right, can you demonstrate for me the difference between a West Virginia dialect and an East Tennessee? Go. I'm called upon to do that in sessions all the time. I was looping a film, and looping is when you actually replace English to English, okay? If you replace foreign stuff or anime, it's called dubbing. But if you loop a film, and the actor is up there and he's saying, you know, enjoy your last meal, funny boy, okay? That's English to English, and I'm going to say, enjoy your last meal, funny boy. I just looped something. But if it's a guy who's speaking, Romanian, and I'm going to English, I'm dubbing that, okay? That's the technical difference between those two things. So when you hear people who are loopers, I do that too, but you're going your language to your language. Anything else is dubbing. I looped this one film where it was a party scene. It was a room about from here over there and was a little bit bigger than this. And a bunch of people were sitting around there. And we had 7, 8 of us in the room, and we had to cover this huge room full of people. How they do that is they do track number 1, and you two are talking because you just got your drinks from the waiter and want to say thank you and all that. So you're covering that part. You are by yourself and you're on your cell phone, so you're talking and doing that. Okay, then we do, all of us, one track. Okay, then they go to track number 2, and we're going to do different voices. By the time they get to track 6 and 7, we now have 7 tracks that sound like a whole bunch of people, but the same ones are there. I did this one where there were 8 people sitting around a table. They said, okay, Paul, you need to do that guy. Can you do a Japanese accent? Yes, I can. Okay, second take, second track, I did a different voice. Third track, I did another one. Fourth track, I did another one. Fifth track, I did another one. They bring me in because I can do all of that stuff. So when anybody ever tells me, oh, voice acting, it must be easy, how hard could it be? I go, come here. One of my favorites there was a company called Internal External Communications, IEC. And I did a lot of their stuff that they call industrials. Okay? Now, industrials are voiceovers for companies, okay? Not for commercials necessarily, but you do an industrial. For instance, my favorite, I still remember it. The Lexus ES300 has an available Nakamichi 8-speaker sound system, and on the LS400, it's standard. That's an industrial because they're playing it for the guys who are getting the dealerships. Okay, you're going to go out and sell the car. You need to know this stuff. So they would go ahead and listen to the CDs and look at the pictures and hear my voiceover, that kind of thing. That is not easy to do. I make it look easy. The director of one of these sessions one time, he told me this story. One of the people from payroll came down into his studio livid. Why are we paying so much for these actors? Well, how hard could it be? All they're doing is standing there. And his name was Paul, too. He said, well, I got some copy in there from United Airlines. Why don't you go in? Give it a try. Okay. So she went in. He set the level for her. And this paper was on the music stand there in front of her. And she was on the second paragraph only, and it was already take 15. And she just grabbed the paper and threw it on the ground and went stomping out. And Paul said, thank you. Just wait until you think it's easy. Once you get in front of there, it is so intimidating. It's so difficult. You have to have the skill set, and you have to be able to use it effectively. Okay, guys, thanks so much. We're about out of time. Thank you so much for being here for Voice Acting for Business and Pleasure. And we'll be having opening ceremonies here in a half an hour. Please hang out. I've got a couple of more panels. We're going to be doing autograph signings and tons of stuff. So please, hang out and let's have a great time. And everyone remember, respect first. Cosplay is not consent, right? Okay. Thank you all for being here.